Star Trek: The Next Generation was a show. Star Trek: The Next Generation. Everybody I interacted with. A show that I started watching when I was a really little kid. Can you believe it's been 30 years? Star Trek: The Next Generation first.
Star Trek: The Next Generation was my life.
I really grew up with this show.
My relationship to how I should conduct myself. It was the escape from reality. Welcome to Next Generation's First Generation, where Patrick Delmore and Sascha Shouties take a look back into their favorite childhood show, Star Trek: The Next Generation. This is where we attempt to reconcile how we felt as children watching the show and looking back as old farts now in our late 30s, almost 40s. Guests, social commentary, and good old-fashioned shade-throwing on our favorite and least favorite episodes. Here comes Patrick and Sascha. Oh, I almost forgot. This is a watch-along podcast, so make sure to queue up your favorite DVD or Netflix, and we'll give you the countdown of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to basically watch along with the episode. Data, what are you doing?
Yeah. Like, why do you have that big picture of Yar on the screen in front of you? I'm sorry, sir. I thought I put this on silence. That's more of a Crichton joke.
You know,
it's like
if Crichton and Data hooked up and kind of had like a duet going on, I mean, it's almost like the straight guy and the how do I explain it? It's
Speaking of Crichton, though, you realize that there's like two whole seasons of I don't make Matt apoplectic, but there's like 2 whole seasons of Red Dwarf that are out that I have not seen because they it's back in production, right?
Oh, right now?
Yes.
Oh,
so
I didn't know that.
They've released 3 seasons since. Well, no, they've released 4 seasons since 2010, but there's 2 I haven't seen. Did you see the episode where they went back and found Jesus?
No.
Yeah, though that's a really good scene. So there's a bunch you haven't seen, but it's available on Amazon. I know it would make Matt spit nails if we watched it when he got back.
Just as R2-D2 and C-3PO were kind of like the odd couple?
Yes.
I could easily see like a Data and Crichton mashup.
Yeah.
But it couldn't be on the Enterprise. They'd have to like be stranded somewhere, or they had to complete a collaborative task, and that's where the comedy would kind of motivate the 2 characters to interact. Anyway.
Actually, it would be funnier with Crichton and C-3PO. Because they both get really excited about stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And then you get to, and since, what's his name, Crichton would be, like, super argumentative and, like, turning him down, it's like, 3PO would just get more and more excited, and then it's like, he finally, it would be like... It's like, yes, that's absolutely correct. That is how it works. Oh, it's so exciting. Kiss me, Mr. Crichton. I'm sorry. Did you just ask me to kiss you? Did I? No. Why would I do such a thing? Of course not.
Oh, that's so funny. All right, let's jump into this.
Okay.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Next Generation's First Generation. I'm your host, Sascha Shouties, and
I'm Patrick Delmore.
And we are both here to journey with you to look at another wonderful episode of Star Trek Next Generation. Today we'll be reviewing Arsenal of Freedom. And what's fun about this episode is, of course, let's see, the cast is in danger, the ship almost gets destroyed, and the crew saves themselves by their own morals. That sounds about right for most of the shows.
It's a good episode. The last one of these I really liked. I called it a pot boiler.
A pot boiler. Now, why is it a pot boiler?
This one's not a pot boiler.
Oh, it's not a pot boiler.
A pot boiler is a mystery. It's like the tension builds and builds and what's going to happen. It's like, this is just really good sci-fi. And this is a story that you could do with a lot of other crews. If If you altered it a little bit, it could be a Firefly story. You altered it again, it could be a Battlestar Galactica story.
Really? Yeah, you could, because you're just taking core elements that aren't necessarily important to the progenitors of the species or the politics. It's people in an odd situation. How do you fix it?
But I've said this a few times about season 1 episodes. I can't remember what the last one I said is about, but this is, thus far in the watch along, my favorite season 1 episode that I have watched. So, if you're ready, if you're going to sit down and watch this along with your TV, we are a play pause at 1 second. So, we're going to count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and play.
And pushing play. There's the Enterprise. Captain's log. 12345.2. Apparently a ship disappeared? Is that what he said?
Yeah, they're about to have a conversation here on the bridge that should have just happened in the meeting room.
Now, I haven't watched this episode in probably about a year and a half.
Oh, this is so good.
So here's Picard.
I just watched it on Thursday.
Oh, okay. And they're at the planet Minos. It's not the same as Minos Corva, is it?
No.
So,
yeah, this is
Minos,
all stuff.
So Minos Corva was a weapons development planet, and they sold weapons to both sides of a conflict.
Yeah.
Now that's really interesting because originally, when they wrote this show, this was supposed to be a commentary on the sale of F-14 Tomcats to Iran in 1974. So the story there was that the company, Grumman, was going out of business and was losing money for not selling these...
Just a second, Sasha.
Yeah.
So this conversation, they're talking about this guy who's the captain of the Drake who they're looking for, and this really shows how bizarrely structured Starfleet is. So, Drake, the captain of the Drake, took a test that had three possible outcomes. He figured out a fourth way to do it. So now the test has all 4 of the outcomes, including the one that he did. Now, if you were good at structuring a test,
right,
you would say there's more than 3 outcomes, right? Not, oh, now there's 4. You know what I mean? What he proved that yes, there's a fourth way to do it, but what that also should have proven was it's very possible there's more than 4 ways to do it.
Yeah. You know, it reminds me of the Kirk and the Kobe Marashi Maru. I'm kind of slaughtering it, but you kind of follow my lead where it's like, it's a no-win scenario, and he cheated, and now that is a possible option. So, boy, this episode's just jumping around because there's things I want to talk about. So this guy right here, the salesman that we're seeing, is actually probably one of the best character actors in Hollywood.
His name is this guy.
Vincent Schiavelli, I think.
Yeah.
He was in Batman. He was in a lot of stuff. He was in Ghost. He was in The People vs. Larry Flint, Tomorrow Never Dies,
The Boy Who Could Fly.
Yeah, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Yep. I mean, and he's a giant. He's a giant. He's like 6 foot 6 inches tall.
Yeah.
Yeah, he really owned every scene in this episode here. So anyway, what I was trying to say about the Iran thing is that the company that was making these F-14 Tomcats, Grumman, they were going through bankruptcy proceedings in Congress because the United States was no longer funding the project. And so they worked out a deal where they could sell $2 billion worth of these planes and missiles to Iran. And we're also selling these planes and missiles to the United States. So it's kind of funny how you one company selling military equipment to both sides.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the hint where they were going here in this episode. But it didn't really sustain much further than that. This is Season 1, Episode 21, Arsenal of Freedom, directed by Les Landau. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong.
Landau, I believe.
Landau, okay.
Who is I want to say... No, Juliet Landau is the daughter of Martin Landau. I don't know that Les Landau has any relation to Martin Landau at all.
Okay. The story was by Maurice Hurley, and he was the one who came up with the idea of linking it to the Iran Tomcat scandal. And then also another gentleman by the name of Robert Lewin. The teleplay was written by Richard Manning and Hans Beimler. I believe I'm saying that right. The music for this episode is Dennis McCarthy. Cinematography by Edward Brown. And some really interesting stuff about cinematography is going to come up that I'll bring up a little later when you get on the planet, but there's some nice gems there. Originally air dated on April 11th, 1988. We see, again, Vincent, our great character actor there is the peddler, and a number of other guests. But this is going to be a fun episode. I remember this one when I was a kid. It was visually stimulating. It had a lot of action. You had a good use of a soundstage for a foresty place.
This soundstage, unfortunately, almost every time I saw clips from this when I was a kid, because I feel like they play heavily with it in the clip show episode they did of Next Generation. Their, quote, painting with light looks so bad here. It looks, I mean, this is how I would, if I were making a show, it would look like if you shrunk down and were inside like a planter in a doctor's waiting room.
Like in a terrarium or something?
Yeah.
No, it definitely looks like that. And they even filled the set with fog so they wouldn't have to lay down more detail, like shrubbery and more stuff, like hauling a whole bunch of dirt. You know, they could have easily filmed this episode on location. There's no reason why they had to be on a soundstage. But, you know, I like it. It's cool. Most Planet Hell's soundstages for Star Trek are barren rockscapes and the one dead tree. So, this is alright. And we've got some equipment there. They're not sure what's going on. What could possibly destroy this tritanium? They're not sure.
Hey everybody, check out this unknown object I found. Let's interface with it without knowing what it is.
It might be a gun. Let's push some buttons.
How do you know?
Watch, it's a gigantic headpiece of a Dalek.
Yeah.
Exterminate. Yeah.
Ensign has quite a large role in this.
She does. I have something about her in my show notes. I gotta bring it up. That's Ensign who? Sue?
Yeah.
Julia Nickerson is her name. And she was born September 11th, 1958. A Singapore-born American actress.
So she would have been 29 or 30 when this came out, and she'll be 60 this year.
She was in Rambo First Blood Part 2.
This is great. This exchange with Riker and the captain of the Drake.
Yeah, oh yeah, they jump right into it.
Yeah.
So, number one has just discovered the captain of the ship that's missing, but something's not quite right here.
Yeah.
And they're checking in with the ship, and they say, there's no life signs there. Who are you talking to?
Understood.
So this is where Riker kind of puts on a mediocre poker face. What's going on?
Well, he's taken his cue from Kirk and how Kirk can outthink computers all the time.
Yeah.
Riker is going to outthink the computer here.
What's your purpose here?
This guy's face looks really torn up.
Sir, other than ourselves, I'm picking up no life signs.
This
so
actor...
data register is a life sign? So he couldn't, because he says ourselves, not yourselves. So if Data had, say, secret plans for the rebellion, for, where a rebel base was hidden, and launched out an escape pod, nobody would know he was in it.
Apparently
hypothetically.
So.
Yeah.
It's a good ship. Lollipop. It's a good ship. Da, da, da. So Riker's trying to outthink this illusion of the captain here by saying, "Oh, we flew in on the lollipop." So anyway, this actor here that he's talking to is named Marco Rodriguez.
It's also the name of the character on Star versus the Forces of Evil. The main character that isn't Star.
Yeah. He was in a lot of stuff. He had a number of roles in Star Trek Next Generation. He was also in Tripwire, Maniac Cop 2, The Rookie, Street Knight, The Crow. He was in High School High and Seinfeld and
High
7
School
Days.
High, I forgot all about that movie.
Yeah. No, he was pretty busy in the 90s. Actually, he's actually still active. In 2017 he did a piece called Inhumans. Sorry. Oh, yeah. There it is. This is the coolest prop. So, I have a story about this prop. So there's a probe here that has materialized as soon as the image of Paul disappeared. And this drone was made from two things. It was made from a shampoo bottle and a Legs pantyhose container. But not only that, the guy who created it, here, I gotta go into my show notes because I gotta tell the story just right. So the guy who created this, Dan Curry, he hand animated the model instead of using motion control photography. So he was using Tai Chi techniques to keep the movement of this probe fluid.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I know, right? And he actually had to blend into the background, so he wore a pair of tight green leggings.
The same leggings that came out of the can, presumably.
Yeah, probably. But that's pretty creative stuff there.
I almost wonder if we'll be able to see him if we look really hard, because this is not HD.
Yeah, well, they did have green screen.
Yeah, I know, but sometimes you can still see people moving around.
And now, there is no good reason for Picard to leave the ship.
No. But it opens up something kick-ass.
Yeah, so...
Geordi is going to take command.
Is that what he's doing right now?
Yep.
So Troy's doing her job. What are you doing?
Yep.
Why are you leaving? And they've given the ship to Geordi. So Picard is going down there with the doctor?
Yep.
Oh yeah, because I was talking so much, what we missed was that Riker was put in a force field. And they don't know what's going on.
He's just going to get a stick and try to unwedge him. You just stick this in here.
Okay, so they're explaining that the probe that we're talking to is actually designed to trap the original person, make a copy of them, and then create a hologram to collect information. And now they're trying to get him out of the force field. We're not really sure what's going on here. A lot of speculation. Again, no reason for Picard to be down there, especially since someone was just shot. Look at that. You know, as soon as that force field drops, Riker's going to get hit by the beam.
Well, on a show called another Star Trek podcast that I really like called Gimme That Star Trek, which is on the Fire and Water network. They talked about the military implications of Star Trek, and one of the things they brought up was that if you could make a weapon that had a stun setting like a phaser, there would be absolutely no reason for it to have a kill setting.
Yeah, true. Unless you're vindictive. Oh, there we go. Right. They fall into the pit. All right, so I got to remember this is a watch along, and not everybody's watching. So another probe showed up and started shooting at the ground party. And guess what? They all scattered into the woods. Picard and Beverly went off in their own direction and fell down a hole, and now they're in a cavern. What we are seeing here is Beverly is hurt real bad. She's laying on the ground. Picard seems to be okay. He's just kind of getting up, dusting himself off. But they're going to discover that she has internal injuries or maybe a broken leg. Now, this is a big change from the original script. The original script called for them to both fall down the pit, but for Picard to be injured and Beverly to be able-bodied. And we'll go into why we made that change here in a little bit. But in the meantime, they're doing basically target practice. Yar and Data have just destroyed a probe. And they don't know where the captain is. They're looking around.
Really good job of the sound effect of having their communications be blocked.
I love it.
It's kind of a staticky noise when they click their communicators.
Yes. The subtle audio engineering in this show is perfect.
I couldn't tell when I watched this on Thursday. Is he packing her in sand to keep her warm, or is he trying to dig her out of some sand?
You want to dig her out. How she got buried in all that sand from falling, I don't understand.
Yeah, no, you don't move somebody that way he's moving her. And she should know that.
Yeah. Your tricorder.
I'm going to put my communicator at the end of the stick. I've got a lot of good ideas about sticks today. Captain's log. Today I was good with sticks.
No, not Captain's log. Captain's stick.
Yeah.
Look, a stick. There we go. Another stick.
Dear Robert, I thought you'd be interested to know that I've become interested in using sticks to solve problems.
So, as I was saying a few minutes ago, here we have Picard and Beverly in a hole. And their roles are reversed. So, Picard is the one tending to the injuries, while, ironically, the doctor is the one who's hurt.
Yep.
The original script called for the captain to be near death in this hole, being injured. And Beverly, who was able-bodied, this is where she was supposed to tell him how much she loved him. And that's really interesting because, in the first season, those two kind of danced. And there was a lot of subtle stuff saying that, one was interested in the other. And then they kind of went away, and then towards the end of Next Gen, they started picking that up with having breakfast every morning and whatnot.
Well, I'm gonna say this, and you may agree or disagree about Captain Picard.
Okay.
Captain Picard is a social coward. We're going to see in a couple episodes of this season how he acts around an actual former love interest.
That's right.
And he is terrified to take risks socially on any level. And Beverly is and I'm not using the word proud to indicate arrogant, because I don't believe Beverly is arrogant at all. But she has enough pride that, it is Picard that needs to cross that bridge to bring them together. Not Beverly.
He never does it, does he?
Well,
or he dances right on the edge.
Yeah. If you read the autobiography of Captain Picard, you'll know that, she met Jack first, and Picard met her and had feelings for her, but didn't want to do anything about it. Beverly became pregnant with Wesley, and they decided to leave the ship because they didn't know how he would feel about a child. Now, I would like to believe that since that's in a book and not on the show, in my mind, they were very good friends with Picard, and he was humble about it because, again, I think coward is a fair word to use for how he acts. They offered to make him Wesley's godfather, and he completely withdrew. Just said no, and the death of Jack was, the last straw. Beverly, I would like to believe, was once upon a time one of his best friends. And it just stopped because he didn't know how to act about Jack Crusher's death.
Wow. Well, he was also the component of Wesley, too.
Yeah.
That would have been really complicated. Because I don't know if Picard really wanted to be a father figure to Wesley.
No.
I think it's a very real response to a person who can say, I've got other priorities than relationships in my life.
Yep.
And that might be true in a military culture.
Yeah.
So, some really interesting exchanges are happening here.
Yeah, we're talking over one of the best parts of this episode, which is, you'll remember in Coming of Age, I talked about how I don't like a snarky response from from Geordi toward that admiral that was investigating stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, he is so good at being in command of this starship.
Geordi is.
He's not snarky.
Okay.
He's given this man compliments. This is the chief engineer Geordi's talking to right now. He's giving him compliment sandwiches while giving him orders.
Mm-hmm.
Talking to exactly how you're supposed to talk when you're being critical of anybody.
He's triaging the situation quite well. I mean, they just were fired upon.
Yep. And Troy is going to do... The only down part of this episode for me is how Troy is going to react to that a little bit.
I'm getting energy readings.
So, another thing... Did he just throw Tasha?
Yeah.
That's funny. So, look for the guy holding the probe. Apparently there's a guy just moving this thing around doing Tai Chi. Oh no, they green screened that out for sure. This is also probably the most times we've seen any type of special effects in the show so far.
Yeah.
A lot of weapons fire, a lot of actual stunts and practical effects alongside with the overlay. Man, this is great. I love it. When I was a kid, I think this is what really caught my attention as a child watching this, is that, I mean, action.
Yeah.
Violence. Things blowing up. I was bouncing off the walls, making pew-pew noises.
Well, this one took everything we had. I don't know how we'll handle the next one.
They're in a tight spot right now because their 3 phasers just barely managed to destroy this probe. And it seemed they've already established that several probes are being launched, and they're getting stronger and stronger.
Underground structure. But I don't see any.
Hey, stay awake.
No, you don't. No time to sleep.
No
So
sleeping.
in a little bit, Beverly is going to lay down some exposition that actually gets followed up on several seasons down the road, where she talks about how her grandmother colonized this really harsh planet, was the head of the society, and we actually get to go to that planet at the end of the series.
That's right, with the weird ghost candle lover.
Yeah.
That was a weird episode.
Yeah, it was.
I'm trying to figure out here just how incompetent Picard is. I mean, he must have gone to some kind of training in first aid.
Oh, yeah. And especially emergency first aid.
Yeah. Why is she buried under all this sand?
It might be to keep her warm. I don't know.
So here's the funny commentary that I know that Patrick Stewart had made and a couple other actors. they hated the sand on these sets because they had a lot of cats on the studio, and the cats would use the sand to do their business. So it always smelled like this overpowering ammonia smell.
Well, that's a great tactile memory to me because we had, a sandbox in our backyard when I was this age or a little bit younger, and it was not a covered sandbox, so I was constantly digging cat turds out of that as I was playing in there with my little shovel.
That's funny. This is kind of cool. They've got some practical knowledge going on. Beverly's trying to teach Picard some herbology, some folk medicine, working with roots in the chemical reaction of what's in the root to help the wound. As a kid, I didn't really understand what the hell he was doing. All I understood was he's following doctor's orders.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing that what he's putting on this wound must either be a coagulant or something to clean the wound to keep it from being infected.
Elevate the lids and try to keep her warm.
So
elevate the legs. That's slightly more erotic than I was thinking I would have to do today. Why doesn't it? It's like, that's the other thing, is it's like on the social coward scale, it's like he's got more than a pocket full of things he could say that would get her real pissed off real fast.
Yeah.
And fighting and staying awake, which is what you should do if somebody's concussed like that and you're trying to keep them awake.
Yeah.
Getting them mad is actually a really good idea.
I'd start talking about Wesley.
Yeah.
And say, you know what? I was faking it. I don't think your son has a chance.
Yeah. It would all be great things to do.
Everyone's in orbit, not really sure. They're just waiting. Oh, they're hunting this probe that's hunting them. That's right.
Let's see if we can get lucky.
The LeVar Burton actually carries himself quite well in a command acting role.
Yeah.
He's clear. He's friendly.
But his engineers must love him as a boss.
Yeah.
Here's the thing about Geordi, and I know this will infringe on a lot of stuff that happens in the future, is it's like Geordi's greatest flaw is that, and I think he's aware of it, he's incredibly intelligent. Like, the stuff he knows is stuff he knows, but when it's his turn to speak, he does kind of get arrogant about the stuff that he knows, which is, your Leah Brahms storylines and how he falls in love with people that are just, kind of totally submissive to him.
Yeah.
But he's aware of that too, because he's the best listener on the ship after Guinan, who we'll meet next season.
Yes.
I mean, you see Guinan is really actually pretty good at stirring Geordi up.
Oh yeah, I love that top view. It doesn't look like a Ferengi battlecruiser.
Yes.
Oh, it's great. Yeah. Oh, the thing about Geordi the character and the actor LeVar Burton is that there's a lot of LeVar Burton in the character Geordi.
We think.
I see it. The personality traits that I would imagine. So looking at his public persona, I'm just talking about other programs he's done and what's going on in Star Trek. It crosses over quite nicely.
Yeah. I've said before, I would not be afraid to approach LeVar Burton. Well, anybody from this show. Because I feel like you do a show like Star Trek The Next Generation. I don't know that I would know if I saw Brent Spiner or Michael Dorn in person, because I'm not used to looking at them without makeup. But, if I happened upon Jonathan Frakes or LeVar Burton or Marina Sirtis especially, because she seems like every time she talks about this show, she's like just into hysterics about how ridiculous of a show it was. It seems like she'd be a blast to hang out with.
On a side note, I went to a convention once where someone had asked Marina what her favorite class of starship was, and her reply was just, "I didn't really follow the show."
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, this is great.
Okay, this is the one down
the ready
down
room
of the show. So, Geordi has basically told the chief engineer, like, yeah, you want to be in charge? You're in charge of the saucer section. Which means that you're in charge of keeping all the families and everything safe, which is what you wanted to do. But for as far as the tactical stuff, Geordi's in command. Also, the other problem was the chief engineer in all other situations is Geordi's superior officer.
Yeah.
And he's really pissed off.
Well, this kind of goes back to the original series where they would tell Chekhov or Sulu, "Hey, you're in charge. We're taking off." And so
I don't think I don't think Chekhov was ever in the command seat.
No?
Scotty was, Sulu was, but never Chekhov, never Uhura.
But this is the point that I'm trying to make, though, is that they're giving command to a supporting cast member, and the ship has its own independent story arc to resolve from the crew that's on the planet.
So he's not really a supporting cast member.
No. He's main cast, but I guess in the hierarchy of cast members, I wouldn't put him right now as the helmsman. I wouldn't really put him in the chain of command of someone who should take the ship. Like, you think they would have given it to the engineer or to Worf?
Solus is doing a fine job.
Yes, but he isn't handling the stress as well as you are. Both he and Ensign Sue are very young.
No, wait, they're good officers.
Yes, but they lack battle
See,
experience.
she doesn't need to tell Geordi this. She needs to be talking to these two guys that she's talking to him about.
So what's she saying? What is she saying here?
She's saying that they're not being reassured enough by Geordi. Her purpose is to reassure those guys.
That they have the experience or the skills?
Yeah.
My Captain Picard showed confidence in me.
And he's like, and he has shown confidence in them. He's all, what the best thing she could have done was to go in there and be like, I'm about to go back out and talk to those guys, and I'm gonna and is it okay if I say, Geordi said some really impressive stuff about you while I was in there. Can I say that? And Geordi would go, yeah, I see where you're going with that. Yeah, you can do that. But I don't quite understand why she put it on him.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe she was trying to help him develop as a leader, and maybe the message just didn't come across as very well. So they're borrowing a lot of footage here
from that episode that was in this season already.
Yeah. Well, this right here is from the pilot. They also had a lot of cutscenes from the opening establishing shots and the credits of the ship zooming and turning for warp.
Speaking of blue screen, I don't think that they had two separate pieces of the Enterprise. I think that their plan was some blue screen right here.
Oh, you think, huh?
Yep, just blue screening it out the top. It kind of sucked. Sorry to interrupt you all.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
There was a Enterprise toy, one of the first ones that came out, that did have a saucer section that detached, but that meant that the saucer section always fell off.
That's so you could build your own disasters.
Yeah.
You could practice the finale for the show. What's interesting to me is that
how you knew about that plan. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought.
But that's not an exciting. I mean, this is going to talk about the Grandler, like I said.
Go
But
ahead.
again, to Picard, that's not that exciting to keep her awake. Like, he has a pocket full of stuff that can wake her up that he's not using. Go ahead, Sasha. I feel like I've interrupted you 3 or 4 times.
Oh, no, it's quite all right. I'm having a lot of fun with this episode. So, with the ship separating saucer, why did they do that? To just get all the families out of the way so they could go back into the battle zone?
Precisely.
Okay. I was a little lost there for a second why they were doing that.
Yeah, because they're in a full-on fight, and they need to get the families away.
There are not a lot of times when they do that, though.
No.
It's maybe only a handful. I can't even really remember how often they do it other than...
And Geordi and the chief engineer were in an argument about how to fight this battle.
Oh, he found a blinking button.
Yep.
Should he push it? Let's try it. On a planet full of weapons and dead people, let's push the only flashing...
The history erasure button.
There we go. Oh, this is where it gets really interesting for me. So apparently they're not just in a cave, but in a bunker. And he sees a display of
it's a bunker that used to be the showroom for these weapons.
Right. Oh, and there's our hologram. Oh.
It's the centerpiece of the whole unit.
Who's that?
It's a salesman. Oh, I love him so much.
Yeah.
Objection. It's the automated salesman who greeted us on the Enterprise. What unit?
We're quiet because the dialogue is just so good with this guy.
Weapon system technology. Is that what's behind the attack on my people?
Don't you love it? Don't you love this great system? It kills your people so well.
Yeah.
Versatile, powerful, and easy to use.
Gosh, he's so tall the camera is even shooting looking up at him.
Can gather information, neutralize ground personnel, even destroy enemy space vessels.
Wow. So this weapon is so modular. Yep, the Enterprise. It can kill the smallest guard dog, take care of armies and vehicles, and even ships in orbit.
But how it works is that it'll get defeated a couple of times, like we saw happening, but then it comes back, knowing how to fend off that attack, and gets more and more powerful. And that's what killed this society, is that they just made a weapon so powerful and...
So it learns, well, he just said it there, it learns from each encounter and improves itself. Boy, good thing the Borg didn't get their hands on this technology.
Yep.
Holy smokes.
The poor fools, your own creation destroyed.
So we hear a noise.
What was that noise?
We don't know what's going on.
Its last attack and constructed a new,
stronger, it made its last weapon.
In a moment, it will launch that weapon against the targets on the surface.
Wow. Okay, so it's going to launch a weapon and kill everybody. And Picard is just appalled by this.
Yeah, Jean-Luc's got to think his way out of this. And think he does. His solution is pretty great.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to see some Data Superman action again in just a second. This is so cool.
I love Data. Data, Data is one of those rare people where he can kind of do everything.
Yeah.
They're shouting at each other. I'm down here. We're hurt.
Those devices are part of a system located down here. Another one is about to be released. Watch yourself.
We know, Captain.
We've been shot at all day. Don't mind us.
I'm surprised either of them survived.
I can do it, Commander. Jump.
Oh, Data.
Data, it's over 10 meters.
10 meters. How many feet is that? 30 feet.
Data, you may be sturdy, but you're not indestructible.
She knows.
She tried to break him before and it didn't work.
Just jump straight down. Oh, so cool.
Data, at your service, Captain.
Now, the human body, if you take a 3-foot fall with a locked knee, you can break your leg.
Yeah.
So to just give you an idea of how fragile people are in falls.
We're going to
That was a 30-foot fall, and he just absorbed it.
Yep. Well, it would have been really amazing. I mean, he did bend his knees when he landed, because obviously we're doing it with an actor, but it'd be amazing if they had the technology to show him drop down like a pencil, have his feet like it bedded up to the knee, and then step out of the holes that he made.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Oh, these planets are terrible.
They do it. It's not improved very much in the HD version, I hate to say.
Yeah. So they're
how about this though? How different the acoustics are in the battle bridge than they are on the regular bridge.
Well, it's a smaller set.
Yeah.
It's not as echoey.
Let's focus on what we're doing.
He's just such a good actor.
Yep.
Or not actor, a good leader. I mean, he's coaching these people.
Yep.
There we go. There's the planet. So they're looking for their hunter?
Has been launched, sir.
Yes.
I can to stop the system. I would need to see the program schematic. You've got it. Is it possible to readjust the targeting sequence?
Absolutely. It wouldn't be much good without...
I like the animation of the GPS map there.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of that was actually hand-drawn
Wow.
and animated because it was cheaper than doing... it was cheaper than actually doing computer animation at the time.
Series 607 is about to complete this phase of its...
Now, some of this is actually computer animated, so they do a lot of crossover from computer and hand animation.
Out of range?
Forget I said it. These devices wiped out the entire planet. I don't think it has a range.
And what does that leave us?
Again, I think it's really cool that Yar is thinking on her feet as a tactical officer. It was a really big shame to lose her as a character.
Yep.
Because she added a lot of realistic value to the show. It was a strong female lead, too, which, we didn't have enough of in the 90s, or even today.
Why don't you just shut it off? Why not?
Yeah, we really gotta bring back Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman.
There we go.
And Xena.
This beauty can do.
What was that other lady? Murphy Brown. Well, Murphy Brown is coming back, which is a little bit weird, but...
We've seen enough. You made a sale.
You won't be so...
Whoa! Picard's buying it! There we go.
Done.
That's great.
Not only did Picard buy it, but the peddler bought it too.
Yeah. Now they still have to deal with the object in orbit, and this is where I think...
Everything's all right. We've neutralized it.
Yeah, see, shouldn't the system have turned off the object in orbit? Why would they still be fighting that if the one on the planet vanished?
300. Sir, that heading will take us further into the planet's atmosphere. That's correct. We're going to lose some maneuverability, so keep a firm hand on the helm.
This is another thing I really enjoyed as a child, is watching the Enterprise doing things it shouldn't be doing.
Yep.
Like flying into an atmosphere. Also, when they flew into the Dyson Sphere, that was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, I can't wait to get to that
Yeah.
episode.
And, these little things, I mean, it really showed, what
Yeah,
the ship
this
was
looks exactly
capable
the same in the HD version.
Does
They
it?
did not change it yet.
Yeah.
Sir, helm going unresponsive. Can you compensate? Yes, sir, I can.
So they're flying into the atmosphere, and they're using the friction heat to make the Enterprise and the hostile ship glow. And they're hoping they can get a good fix on that shampoo bottle and take it out. There we go. And it is just
That I think they did. I think they did change what the object looked like.
in the HD version.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shields down.
They made it. Everybody's looking pretty proud. Their pips have now
Oh,
turned.
thanks, Edson. You did that without my ordering you two. Real good forward thinking, honey.
How funny would it be if their pips were actually little gold stars now?
Yeah.
Like the kind you got in 3rd grade? I'm an ensign!
This is a very Jim Kirk ending here.
Relinquishing command, Captain.
As you were, Lieutenant.
Sir?
Mr. Laporte, when I left the ship, it was in one piece. appreciate your returning it to me in the same condition.
That is funny. You know,
Yeah, very Kirk.
whenever Picard's on the battle bridge, he becomes more of an ass.
Yeah.
So they've got to
He's
go
not
back.
an ass. What he basically said to him was like, Geordi, you got this. What?
Yeah? What I heard
The
was...
mission is not complete.
Okay. What I heard was, I don't want to have to be bothered by putting the two pieces of the ship back together.
Nuh-uh.
You know, I don't think Picard has ever done a saucer separation himself. Someone's always done it for him. So, like in the first episode, he ordered Riker to do it, right? In this episode, he ordered LaForge to do it. So I'm thinking maybe Picard doesn't know how, and he's just ordering other people to do it to cover his own.
Could be.
Well, there we have it. Another wonderful episode of Star Trek. Thank you for joining us. Oh, before we say goodbye, let's do some quick ratings. On this episode, I loved it as a kid. I loved it as an adult. We kind of played with the technical effects. It was a lot of fun. We got to see excellent leadership in Geordi. I would actually give this a very high rating of 5 out of 5 Sunny Gummies, as I would keep this on my permanent watch list.
Yes, 4.9, just because I don't like the scene with Troy and Geordi in Picard's office. But yeah, good stuff. If you want to contact the show, you can always email us at nextgenfirstgenpod@gmail.com. And I would like to extend a special thank you again to Mark Adams of Mark's Mess Podcast, who has been great in promoting our show on his show, and thank him again for that. But I think that's all for us today.
Goodbye, and have a wonderful day.
Why am I introducing you guys?
So you're the guest.
So Sascha, what is Star Trek?
Hi,
Next
I'm the
Generation?
guest. So Sasha, what is Star Trek? We're only in the first season right now, so there's a lot that's coming down the line.
Seek us out at Next Generation's First Generation at iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube. Music credits include Electric Car by Poddington Bear. Music heard in this podcast can be found at freemusicarchive.org. Audio engineering by Sascha Shouties. Chief Meme Maker and episode cover credit goes to Matthew Kirshner. Logo and graphic art design credit goes to David Clawwitter. And special thanks to Patrick Delmore for working with other podcasts to make sure the good word gets out.
Do you have a podcast that you think people should be listening to? Send us your promos and we'll play them on the show. If you'd like to email the show, you can email us at nextgenfirstgenpod@gmail.com. I've been Patrick Delmore.
And this is Sascha Shouties. Thank you very much for listening and have a wonderful day.
Good night.